Welcome to Legends in Life with Amy Jo. Great legends never die. They live on through music, movies, television, and photographs. Amy Jo will take you behind the scenes of life's greatest legends and reveal their ups, downs, accomplishments, and secrets. Join us as we look at the legends in life. It was 1967 and Lyndon Baines Johnson was president. The average price of a new home was a little over 20 grand. Unbelievably, the average income was $7,300. A gallon of gas cost 33 cents, and for $2,700, you could have a new car. Amid America's music boom and social growth pains, the British invasion exploded, and in 1967, Peter Green formed Fleetwood Mac.
Welcome to the Legends in Life with Amy Jo show. I'm your host, Amy Jo. Our guests today are simply going to amaze you. We have Michelle Tyler and Bob Weitz, the featured artists from Access TV's hit show, The World's Greatest Tribute Bands. They're known as Belladonna. I want to welcome you to our show. It is so fabulous to have you here. And first of all, I'm very honored to have you. You are in high demand. And it's not that easy to catch up with you, so thank you.
It's our pleasure. We're so happy to be here.
You are doing something really wonderful by being a tribute artist to one of the most magnificent bands that ever existed in rock and roll. But first, we want to talk about you as an organization and as a group, Belladonna. So let's start with you first, Michelle. How did you get involved in the entertainment business?
I was about 14 or 15, and I heard a recording by Jefferson Airplane called White Rabbit. This fantastic voice of this woman just coming through the airways. And when I was 14 or 15, I just said, oh, I just want to be here. I want to do this. And I used to just come home from school every day and practice along with my dad's stereo, put the record on. People don't even know what records are anymore, but they have a little needle and you drop them on the turntable and they go round and round. And I'd come home from school and just sing along. And I figured, if I could kind of sound like that, then I must be good. And that's kind of like how I developed sort of a knack for doing impersonations or sound-alikes.
Very, very good. Well, Bob, what's your story behind?
In 1964, the Beatles first appeared on Ed Sullivan's show. And I was a 6-year-old sitting on the living room floor watching that. When I saw those 4 guys playing those guitars, I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I hounded my father for a guitar for about 3 weeks. And he finally came home and handed me a cheap nylon string and said, if you can play this, I'll get you a better one. So the deal was on.
And so how did you guys get together?
Well, I had a band traveling around the country, a cover band, and basically I hired him.
That sort of set the tone.
Well, when I think about Stevie Nicks, what is your first recollection of her and Fleetwood Mac? I mean, she's your alter ego, so...
Probably the 17,000 times I heard Dreams on the radio that summer of 1977. It was just everywhere, and I said, I have to see who this person is. In fact, I thought, when I first heard of Fleetwood Mac, I thought Stevie Nicks was the guy and Lindsey Buckingham was the girl.
Yeah,
I think
interchangeable names.
Well, I think a lot of people did, just saying their names and this, oh my gosh, the girl is Stevie, but just incredible, just beautiful voice and just so ethereal and wonderful.
Yeah. What made you decide to be a cover group or band?
There was a scene going on in Los Angeles where people were really going for it, for the original, scene, and they were working, jobs as waiters and waitresses, and I really admire that. I really do. But we wanted to have decent cars, and we wanted to move out of our parents' houses, and so we went the cover route, and we made a pretty good, decent living. That's all we did as a living. We didn't have to do anything else. That's
because you did it very well. So let's share with everyone what you guys sound like and why that worked for you. Take a look.
I did not hear from you. Well, it's all right, it's all
is truly awesome. And I have to admit, people have a very hard time separating you from the real Stevie Nicks.
Yes, they do. In fact, I'll be with my daughter or with Bob, and we'll be like walking through Target, and somebody will say, "Does anybody ever tell you you look like Stevie Nicks?"
Now, you met Stevie.
Yes.
And what was that like?
It was pretty unreal. We were doing a show, a little concert out in a little city, and unknowns to us, there was a person in the audience that was friends of her vocal coach, and I guess during our show, called them on the phone, and then after the show, she had come up and said that she had got her husband on the phone, got Stevie on the phone, had heard us singing Silver Springs, and Stevie flew Bob and I up to a show that she was doing, and we were guests, went backstage and walked up to her, and I just said, "Hi, Stevie, I guess, you met me, you heard me on a cell phone." And she turned around and she grabbed my shoulders and she says, like showed me to her friends and said, "This is the one I was telling you about. This is the one."
Wow.
We tried so hard to get that call through, and I just stood there like the deer in the headlights and said, "Well, it probably didn't sound that good over a cell phone." And she said, No, it sounded great. She said, "In fact, you just let me know whenever you want to take over, because I've about had it." And I thought,
And we all had a laugh at that.
and
I'm sure.
I thought that was so sweet. But what was especially nice was how she made me feel like I was the special one.
That's very great.
When you meet the artist and you walk away liking them.
Yes. So do you know if ever an original artist is kind of miffed when someone is doing?
We have heard stories among some of our tribute peers in Los Angeles, without saying any names, tribute bands come up with very interesting
We want to hear
names.
the names. We want the dirt. It's like
Okay, well, we're Belladonna. That's pretty, it's named after Stevie Nicks' solo
Yes.
album. But I mean, there's great names. Like there's Ellis in Cooperland. There's Iron Maidens.
Yeah.
And this one was called. They were all girls, as a matter of fact, all girls, and they were called Blonde Jovi,
Oh my.
which I
Okay.
thought was a fantastic name. They're all girls, and I heard that Bon Jovi's management sent them a cease and desist letter.
Whoops.
And didn't want
Yeah.
them using any part that sounded like Jovi.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're anybody, you've got a tribute band to you.
Yes.
And if you don't have a tribute band to you, what does that say about you?
I hear the crickets right now.
Yeah.
Well, you were on that hit show, The World's Greatest Tribute
Yes,
Bands.
yes.
So tell me a little bit, how was that? What was it like?
It's amazing. They have a selection process. It's not a contest. They actually send people out to scout. They selected us. We went down. We were the second band on the season, which continues on through, I believe, the spring or summer. And it was shot live for 48 million people at the
Scary.
Whiskey A Go-Go.
Oh, wow.
On the 50th anniversary
Exciting.
of the Whiskey A Go-Go. So it was unreal.
I'm going to show you, my fans and viewers, what the response was from their segment. Take a look at this.
These shows are always great every week. I'm here every week.
Totally a great tribute to Stevie Nicks. It was magical. Everybody was totally enchanted.
To get a great catalog of Stevie Nicks music.
I would see her again over and over again.
They bring it. They bring a game. They got a real energy to them.
The energy was great.
Amazing! Oh my gosh, incredible. It was like watching Stevie Nicks.
The proof is in the pudding, right?
It was fun.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to enjoy more music and memories with Michelle Tyler and Bob Whites as they immortalize Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks. Welcome back. You're watching the Legends in Life with Amy Jo show from fabulous Las Vegas, and my guests are Michelle Tyler and Bob Whites of the Belladonna Tribute Band. So as I mentioned earlier, Fleetwood Mac began in the 60s. What really makes them so iconic?
Fleetwood Mac originally came out of England in the 60s as a blues band, and they had a fairly moderate amount of success in this country. That it wasn't until the 70s when Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks joined up with the group that they really exploded to the top.
Well, we're going to show the audience right now the real Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks. Take a look.
Taken by the sky. Taken by the sky. No.
When I hear that music, it sounds just as good today as it did when they first released it. So how does Stevie stand out so well? She really stands out above the rest of the group. How did that happen?
She had that such unique voice, but beyond that, early on, I think right before Rumors, she decided the kind of image that she wanted to portray. And she went for what she calls her little uniform, which was the black diaphanous, flowing chiffon, the top hat, the big boots, and there was nobody really had that kind of image.
In spite of the fact that she was so enormously talented, she also was enormously plagued by drugs.
Yeah, that seems to be what happened to a lot of people back in the 1970s and 80s.
So was that just the Hollywood thing to do, or was that just something that?
Well, I think back in the 70s and 80s, people really didn't know how truly addicting and bad cocaine was. That was their main drug of choice. And that was considered a party drug in Hollywood, and everybody wore the little silver spoons around their necks, and that was just what beautiful people did, and they got sucked into that whole world, and it's pretty hard to get out of it.
So how do people become functional addicts?
It's a good one.
Well, having been part of that scene back in the 70s and 80s, I can tell you, with that particular drug, with cocaine, it's a stimulant. So if you do cocaine, you're raring to go. You're ready to work. You're ready to do something.
Okay.
Now, I can attest that I have been in the studio and done recordings and then come back the next day and listen to what we got done, and it's like, no, we have to do it all over again. But at the time, it really seemed like we were doing some great work, and that might be the reason why it took them 6 months to record Rumors. I don't know, but I mean, they were very busy.
They were very busy.
Of time.
I saw her in an interview, and she was talking about what you said. It was a stimulant, and she said they were working so hard trying to make things happen, and someone just kind of socially gave them a little cocaine.
That's usually how it happens.
Yeah, and she said, she felt, energized. But then she said, I felt like I had too much energy, so I took a little brandy to kind of bring me down. And then she said, but then she felt like she was a little bit too drunk.
Right.
So she took a little more cocaine to kind of level off again. And so thus the cycle.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it's very insidious.
At the end of it all, she said, she looked at the camera and said, I tell people out there, save your money, because you're going to need $50,000 for rehab.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Crazy.
No,
but people keep
true.
doing it.
Yeah, we are Clean Arrow people. We never got, went down like that. But I'll tell you, it was the whole era. It was just full of drugs.
Yeah.
And some people didn't make it.
And I just think people didn't really understand the severity of what those drugs were doing.
No, they didn't.
And she said she went to a doctor, and he looked at her nose and said, you know what, you've got a huge hole, like from one side to the other in your nose, and you take another sniff of cocaine, it may be your last. It could kill you. So that was a real wake-up call for her.
It was. That's when she went to Betty Ford.
Yeah.
And I guess when she got out of Betty Ford, she had a psychiatrist that put her on Klonopin to keep her off the cocaine, and she credits Klonopin for probably the last, like a lost decade, because she got just as, messed up on the Klonopin, and she says that was even harder. She gained a lot of weight, and she says she's clean, she's straight, and she's in great voice, and they just did a 63-city world tour.
Well, in spite of all the success, they had a lot of turmoil in their group. I mean, fights and affairs and drugs and craziness and managers and everything that you can think of.
And more.
So just thinking about some of the really bizarre things that happened with the group, I think about Peter Green, who just took a few tablets of acid and just destroyed himself. He never came back from that.
No. Him and a few other, Brian Wilson and a few other, took a little bit too much LSD in the '60s, and Peter Green left the band.
But didn't he like one day just walk out, and then he just like went out of the studio and he joined a cult, and
Peter Green.
And they're like, wow, he's just gone. It was some kind of a Jesus type cult, and they're like, what happened? Why did you do that?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. And then I think about Stevie and her affair and how the dynamics.
Well, she had, she was with Lindsey Buckingham, of course. And then she also had an affair, pretty well publicized with Mick Fleetwood.
Yes.
Which they both knew that they couldn't continue that because it would tear the band apart. Yeah. There's even word that maybe Lindsey and Christine had something going on at one point, and and then of course Christine and John were married, and then they split. Fleetwood Mac is like the longest running soap opera of all time. And I think that's part of their charm. I mean, even though they're so dysfunctional, it's like the dysfunctional family that you still love.
But they turned their dysfunction into success because then they started singing songs to each other about what was wrong. I think about, what did Christine, was that song Don't Stop? And she was, singing that to her husband, like, keep going, I don't really love you anymore, but don't stop thinking about tomorrow and all of these things. And I thought, how clever is that to write a song and perform it on stage in front of millions of people?
Yeah, that's
like
true.
What you don't like about your marriage.
Well, like it's a known fact that Stevie was writing kinder, gentler songs to Lindsey with the Song of Dreams, when the rain washes you clean, you will know. And Lindsey was turning around and writing, you can go your own way because packing up and shacking up's all you want to do. And Stevie was furious that every night she had to stand on the stage and see her former lover telling millions of people about her packing up and shacking up, which she says, I never did.
But I can't imagine going on stage and singing about whatever I didn't like about my husband or our marriage. And
yeah, Christine McVie, well, she was having an affair at one point with the lighting director, and she wrote, "You make lovin' fun," about her affair, and her ex-husband has got to stand up there and listen to it every night.
That would be really hard. I mean, I think you would be like really angry at the end of the show.
I think there was a lot of anger. I heard there was a lot of anger, and I heard there was even some actual fights. I mean, actual physical fights.
Wow.
Yeah, it got ugly there for a while, right before Lindsey Buckingham left.
Yeah.
And subsequently came back later. So they keep coming back to this band. They leave, they come back, but now Christine McVie's back, and now they're a unit again, and I think they're all grown-ups now.
And got past that. But didn't Stevie write Dreams?
She did. It was their only number one song.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, by 2003, rumors that album had sold so many millions, and one of the most successful in the history of the music industry, and all because of the angst and dysfunction and problems that they experience. So just because you have dysfunction or controversy doesn't mean that you can't turn it into a positive.
Exactly, and that's what they've done, and I think a whole new generation is rediscovering this music and finding out, that these people, went through this, and they're still playing together today, and I think that's why people still go to their shows. That's why they're one of the highest grossing concert acts in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've known a lot of songwriters who actually, the problems in their life is what feeds their art. And I've talked to a few guys, more than a few, that say when things are going well, they can't write a thing. And they really actually need the adversity to have a reason to vent. You
Well,
know?
I think if you're singing the blues, you might need some blues in your life. They
Yeah.
say you can't sing the blues till you have the blues.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So thank you so much for being here,
Thank you.
everybody. And I really do want to thank them for being here. It's been absolutely a pleasure, and I hope you've enjoyed that as much as we have.